The final shape is out, and if this does not succeed, which it currently looks like it's struggling like there's no tomorrow, then Sony is in and Bungie is out the door.
This is one of the bigger stories of the month. For Bungie, it all comes down to the final shape, right? This is the final roll of the dice for a team that has been utterly battered over the last 12 weeks. It's been kind of insane. Players obviously rejected their last year of work. Management have cut staff to get this expansion.
Well, multiple years of work, especially Lightfall, which arguably completely almost killed the game.
Out the door.
But that's what diversity, equity, and inclusion does to gaming, to humanity in general. It just destroys it.
The team has just been having a shit show, and PlayStation are circling in like vultures. And that's something that I say literally because it's written into the acquisition deal that should Bungie underperform, Sony people can basically move in on the board. So, what Bungie...
And this is going to be really hard because we already watched previously the information that we know about the pre-orders and whatnot. And the pre-orders for the final shape were terrible, okay? Unless a miracle happened, there would not be enough pre-orders to justify it and, you know, probably make enough what they need. And now, well, the word on the block is about the final shape. It has problems. It has a bunch of very, very sad problems.
Bungie did not need is for the game to launch to rather rapturous applause, and then for a lot of players to be, well, completely unable to...
Rapturous applause, by the way, is nothing special. It happens every time something, the expansion just releases. You know it's fake rapturous applause because, again, no one has even played the game, but it's amazing, 10 out of 10.
Experience it because of crashes, bugs, and technical issues. There's a lot to get into. This is an important story for the industry.
People could not play when it launched. The servers are completely toasted. But there are many other problems. The new exotics, for example, are just reskins of old exotics that Bungie took away from players via sunsetting, which everyone obviously loved. The story is a MCU equivalent of the bad guy kind of wins or something like that. It's very generic, bland, and shit. And, well, that's pretty much the expansion. It's very bland. It is uniquely bland.
Industry, let's go. And of course, if you'd like to support the team behind this channel, because it is more than just me, believe me, if you want to support that team, you can check out more of topics that do. Check it out at veilandeinese.games.
Shut up.
With that said, back to Destiny. Now, the modern problems with Destiny are basically summed up by Lightfall. It was one of the worst received elements of Destiny ever. And you know the deal. Player count...
As far as I know, it was by far the worst received thing ever. Because that was the peak of inclusivity and whatnot. It was great.
It's plummeted. They were actually tracking revenue 45% below expectation, which is brutal for a company like that, and things only got worse. They had technical difficulties throughout Lightfall with the seasons, and
by the way, you need to understand what 40% under expectation means in any way. If you're an analyst, you make your minimum expectation, the actual minimum that it possibly can ever be. Everything goes wrong, and that's your minimum expectation. But the fact that they probably did that and it still was 40% below minimum expectancy is wild.
And Bungie's management, of course, were trying to monetize the game even harder. Then we came to the 4-month delay, right? The delay of the Final Shape's launch, and that coincided with nearly a tenth of Bungie's staff being laid off, including many senior staff members. That is something that spooked just about everybody, because those are the people who train up the new employees, the people who, yes, they might cost more per hour, but the idea is you got a lot of value out of them per hour. This all led into an extended season of The Wish, and then, of course, Into the Light, which was a free season, a smaller season, to fill in that gap. And the funny thing is, Into the Light was actually one of the best received seasons of gameplay recently. Some people saying that it was actually better than many paid seasons. They also did a bunch of things like giving people free access to prior expansions before the launch of this current expansion, and Into the Light was really generous. Like, if you wanted to catch up on, exotics and stuff that you hadn't got from past content, they gave you faster ways to do that. So in a way, all was looking up, but then days before the launch, there was an accidental leak of the expansion's contents. This is via a cloud build on the PS5. That risked spoiling everything, and now, after 25 hours of downtime,
the first mission or something was spoiled, but again, we all already know now that it's super generic.
Between 100 and 300 gigabytes of data to install, oof, Destiny 2 The Final Shape has released. And Bungie have already had to apologize after widespread reports of, it's not just like error 37 with Diablo 3. Oh no, there are many error codes, and it's not just the server queues. Bungie ended up doing this post saying, hey everyone, if connection issues have blocked you from playing or enjoying the Final Shape today, we want to apologize. We're hard at work trying to resolve each of those.
This was such a meme when it actually launched. People were saying, close the thing and try again. Wow. It was funny. People were memeing on this really hard.
Issues as quickly as is possible, and many of the connection issues from the morning have already been fixed. So, before we talk about sentiment and what people are saying about the new campaign and the content, let's talk about those issues, right? So, Bungie knew that there were some. They posted known issues just before the expansion came out. This is a fairly normal thing. Sometimes QA will just find things faster than devs can fix them, and ultimately it's not actually up to Bungie to do a delay, right? Like a week-long delay to fix the final known issues. They can't really do that. This is coordinated between, retail distribution, partners of all kinds. You know what I mean, especially when it's a game like this, where you have hundreds of thousands of players, and a pretty stupid number of people, like across all of the different orgs who will be working to support the launch. Any delay will basically mean all of those resources that were allocated towards doing the launch, those now all get screwed around. So, not the sort of thing they could realistically, given their sphere of control, do much about other than try to fix them as soon as they could. So what they said they knew of was a few instances of pretty damn clear interaction bugs that just hadn't been fixed yet, the potential for progress issues with fire teams clearing the campaign. They issued specific guidance on that, and then even the funny thing of 3D audio simply not working. But turns out the known issues are not really the problem. Obviously, there were server queues. A lot of people wanted to play this expansion. I like this. Tom Moran posted this screenshot of Twitch.
Well, to be fair, it's kind of interesting because, this is the biggest anticipated thing in Destiny history because, if it goes bad, it means Bungie's out. Goodbye. Bungie no longer is in charge, which is a good thing in my opinion. But yeah.
In and around launch, and it very much is it's the loading screen meta. Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, not a lot of people watching on Twitch. That is kind of a big oof.
And what this has unfortunately done, perhaps, is kind of hurt them. Destiny was actually well on track to beat its all-time high player count from the Lightfall launch. But we can see that while it's going up and up and up, then we have an immediate drop as the servers basically start cycling as the night rolls on. And of course, that's as the night rolls on, and that is going to pretty much cap you in terms of your maximum concurrency. I would expect, though, these numbers to go up and up and up. As an example, I'd initially planned to play Destiny 2 yesterday for the sake of today's video, and then I realized, hang on a second, it's a massive game launch for an online game. That would be stupid. So I'll save my gameplay experience for a video kind of recapping things in a few days. Now, there is a really funny dimension to this, and it's one that
I think Billy is just gonna wait and see what people say about it at the end, because currently opinions are way too mixed. Some people are calling it a masterpiece, which is definitely cannot be, and some people are saying it's complete trash, which it also clearly cannot be, right?
Actually, I think is a lesson for a lot of developers.
Who would win, fruits, vegetables, and an animal? The epic conclusion to Destiny's Light and Dark and the saga, a battle 10 years in the making, the Guardian's chance to face against the most ancient enemy of the Traveler and become legend. You don't win. The witness kind of kills you at the end after you shoot it a bit. I think. The
bug codes, right? It's not just error 37. It's led to memes like this. Who would win? And, on the one side we see the expansion. On the other one we see fruits, vegetables, and an animal. And the reason why is that, well, that maintenance
Probably because the people making Destiny are vegans.
is that, well, that maintenance is ongoing as they continue to investigate cabbage, currant, and weasel. Yes, so they're basically having these, I suppose, generated, maybe it's like, you know, when you get a sort of auto-generated password, or, oh, you know that thing where it's like 3 words and that's just your location on Earth? What that actually means, right, is it's more human readable. That means it's actually easier to collate feedback and for users to understand what the specific problems are. So I actually think that's really smart.
I have no idea what he said, nor I give a shit.
And the memeing, of course, does help with camaraderie. Now, I don't say that to make light of the situation, because some of the most significant issues actually do impact the gameplay experience. A real bad one is people not being shown cutscenes. Now, this is important, right? In a normal expansion, you know, it would be bad enough, but this is the final hours of the final big story of Destiny 2, which is also end story of Destiny 1, because it's that whole big saga. That is not when you want your cutscenes to break, and that does mean that a lot of players have been quite rightly furious, actually, because if you've been invested in this world for a decade, right? And a lot of people have, you know, the people who have watched the Lore Daddy 10-hour-long video, they go in here, and actually, at the end of the campaign, or near the end of the campaign, there's a really big cutscene. It doesn't play.
I probably should watch that video, honestly.
They're yoked into the next thing, and now the experience has kind of been messed up. What if there is some major character reveal where you don't see it, but after the cutscene, you maybe see a character's dead, and now that's been spoiled for you, right? Problems like that are rough, and this is where Steam gets interesting, because we see a 36% review score on the final shape. 36% of 1,154 reviews. Right? So that's pretty damn rough. The thing is, though...
Oh, I thought it's more 50-50, so... Bill, the fact that the exotics are literally reskins, that's super bad if we're being completely real. That means that they did not give a fuck about a lot of things. Because how much you care about the little things that you do is how much you care about everything. And the fact that that's how they treated their exotics, just reskins,
If you actually zoom out, you can see that the overall game, Destiny 2, is doing far, far better. And I think that's because if you have a negative sentiment that you want to express, generally speaking, you're going to go to more lengths to do that, right?
Now, admittedly, maybe this was server problems, though. It's hard to tell because people haven't finished even the final shape, right? So we don't know what's going to be the end result of people actually, you know, talking about this game and whatnot.
So that's why when we take a look at the overall reviews, we can see 804 positive reviews have been left, and while there have been plenty of negative reviews, it is certainly not the ratio that we're seeing on the DLC. Responding to this immediately is kind of tricky. Bungie are pretty deep in the fixing realm right now, and they are already reporting some significant stability improvements. That's as of the time of this being recorded. Hopefully that is better a few hours later when you see this video. Now, it's not all ideal. Some of those fixes are stopgap measures, like explaining to players that they can replay missions to see the cutscenes, and they've even went so far as to signpost which missions have one. Like, they straight up say it's missions 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7 that are the ones that matter. They tweeted that. So you can see that this is, yeah, this is an important...
Well, they're trying to save it a lot. I mean, good for them, but maybe this shouldn't have been a problem in the first place.
Issue. The campaign, then, especially following Lightfall, Bungie absolutely...
I mean, there's no excuses for this being the situation, right?
Needed this to work. People need to feel like their 10-year investment in the franchise is actually worth it, and also... they need to have a reason to continue. Unfortunately, a lot of people are saying very good things. Aztec Ross, as an example, just finished the campaign. Holy hell, ... later saying 10 out of 10. And there are a lot of people saying similar things. Now I can totally understand immediately going, oh, copious.
Well, to be fair, there's gonna be a lot of people who say 10 out of 10 and 1 out of 10.
A Destiny 2 content creator likes the new Destiny 2 thing? This is insane. And I know what that's like. There's been times where I've thought a Warcraft thing is good, and people have just said, yeah, well, that's just because you do Warcraft stuff in your channel. It's actually shit. So I do get skepticism there, and we'll need to wait until like more opinions overall go out. But generally speaking, across all the people that I follow and look at for this, they're happy. And it's not just that. Obviously, the mechanics like the prismatic subclass and basically the stuff with aspects, all of the customization, that seems to be working. As an example, Paul Tassi, who he's covered Destiny 2 for a long time, saying Prismatic was odd at first, starting to come together. The new Warlock super rules. The story wasn't grabbing him, but is getting good after a thing. It's nice to have Cade back, doesn't feel gimmicky, and the environmental design is some.
Is Cade being back not gimmicky? I don't know about that one.
Of the best ever, certainly from their trailers and that kind of thing. Yeah, the environmental design looks pretty damn sick. Basically, the new sort of play space that you're in is in.
Not gonna lie, one of the worst things about Destiny, in my opinion, has been literally all of their art direction, in my opinion. I do not appreciate Destiny's art direction. I absolutely hate it in like 99% of cases. It's a personal thing, but hey. It doesn't work for me. I can't help it. I just think it's bad.
Inside the Traveler, it looks really cool. You kind of linearly go through it, and then it opens up a bit more big time after you've finished for the post game. And look, I don't want to sit here just reading people's tweets forever, but big picture stuff is actually going quite well. Taking a look at Steam, yes, there are negative reviews. In very, very large part, those are because of the rough launch and the technical problems. But something is responsible for the very large number of positive reviews that have surged in since the damn thing came out. And so it really is fun.
Nothing. It's just the fact that it's Destiny, it's an expansion, it's new, and it came out, and people upvoted. This happens for everything. A YouTube video is out for 3 seconds, people are already upvoting it. Have they seen it? Obviously not, but they still upvote it, because it's just the thing that they in general enjoy and like. We like things before we watch them through and see and understand them fully. That's just what we do as humans. This is not special. The fact that people are gonna like and dislike Destiny instantaneously the moment it drops without even playing it is just how life works.
Funny compared to Lightfall. Lightfall would be followed by a lot of technical problems as, content went on, but it was a pretty solid launch. Obviously, people were left cold by the campaign. This is really the opposite situation. People are quite loving the campaign. I've seen people say that this is basically them kind of doing what like Halo Bungie used to do with campaigns, but obviously they've had a great campaign, but the monkey's paw has curled and they have had a rather rough launch. And of course, one thing that's going to matter a lot here is money, and it's going to matter for several different reasons. Number one, they're a business. They need to make money, obviously. Number two, they are a unit of Sony. Sony need them to make money. We've had a lot of Sony's real heavy hitters, right? Like even Insomniac Games face layoffs. Bungie have faced layoffs. There are financial fundamentals that are underpinning that. Now, of course, a lot of us would say that those layoffs seem needless, that they are very much a, line go up at all costs, even if it's the people problem, sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul, you could say. But absolutely, with us being a year out of them being 45% under the revenue projections, this does matter, especially because of that acquisition contract that essentially means that if Bungie fails to hit certain targets, Sony, let's just say they have some options opened up to them. And the other side of this is staff worries that basically in 2026, that is when some of the higher up leadership of the company will have their stuff vest, like whatever shares or, sort of pay package, whatever, came from the acquisition deal. So people are also a bit worried that if things aren't looking amazing come 2026, a lot of those more experienced people or leadership will just jump away, which of course is scary to people because it means that their leaders have incentives that are not aligned with their incentives. Now, early tracking was suggesting more than 1 million pre-orders several hours before the launch, which certainly is quite strong. But of course, this is a live service game. One round of sales is absolutely not what they need. What they need is for this expansion to reactivate the audience and then keep them through the seasons, because again, PlayStation's new board is absolutely looking at them. So let's talk about this, the more meta side, the business yes side, and the backdrop of Bungie's management facing some of those tough.
Do we care about the meta side? I feel we don't, especially Billiard's explanation of the meta side. Also, there are better ways to actually look at us. Now, I don't know. So, all I can gauge is currently Destiny's 2 launch. Not super horrible, but questionable is it actually super good. Again, really, really hard to tell. Because when someone tells me it's a generic MCU story of the end game, I kind of believe them, not gonna lie. I kind of believe them. So I want to see this for myself, but I think at the end it's gonna be like this. It's not gonna be that bad, but it's not gonna be enough for Bungie to last. Which is good, because Bungie deserves the worst, fucking losers. Anyway, that was Billiard. This is Kuzar Said. Bye bye.